What's up, everybody? This is Johnny, TigerBomb MMA, and today I'm going to go over UFC 316, Dvalishvili versus O'Malley 2, give you my thoughts, predictions on the entire... How many bouts do we got? 13 bouts as of right now. And yeah, it's going to be a fun card. We got the rematch between O'Malley and Merab. Are we expecting anything different from the first fight? And then we've got the co-main event, which is Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. In what it's kind of giving the vibe that, the UFC just really wants another, not undefeated, but, undefeated in the promotion, blonde, dominant champion in Harrison. So I'm intrigued as to how that fight is going to go, and I'll break all that down. Before I do that, I did want to give you my thoughts on the previous card, the Blanchfield versus Barber, or how it was unfortunately renamed Gamrot versus the floor mat. But very quickly, I'll break down that card. Starting with first fight of the night, Alice. I always forget how do you pronounce her fucking name. Ardeleon, there you go, defeats Rayan dos Santos. I actually took her at like plus 175 before the fight started, and I thought it was very funny how dos Santos, who is like a second or third degree black belt or whatever in jiu-jitsu, just had nothing for her. Her boxing looked better than ever. Like, she looked very good on the feet, but like the number one thing that I need to stress to people, especially with the odds on a women's MMA bout, it doesn't matter if you're the better boxer, which she was, or you're the better jiu-jitsu lady. She's still a woman, and she fought very hyperly emotional, like she didn't know what to do. She was confused, and Alice was just going forward, eating shots and landing bombs, and that's all she needed. I did pick Dos Santos logically, but those odds were stupid. I went with Ardeleon, made a little bit of money. Belagioki defeats Michael Aswell. Did not touch on that one. It would have been a very clear and cut Belagioki for me, probably by decision or late finish. Aswell, I'm excited he's in the UFC because I think this kid is solid. He should be at 145. He will be at 145. I'm more impressed by his performance here, where he was looking pretty decent on the feet with Oki early. And then when Oki felt the fact that he is, unfortunately, his chin is made out of absolute raw iron, but his fists are made out of absolute pillow. When he felt that, he's like, fuck it, I'll just move forward. He would hit Oki with some shots, but again, pillows. And Oki ended up winning that fight. It should have been 30-27, 29-28 on some of the scorecards. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Aswell dropping down to 145 and see what he can do. Hopefully he can develop more of a Max Holloway kind of overwhelming style, because he does have good cardio. I'll keep talking about Aswell as much as I can, but I like this kid. Levitt defeats Halaba very easily, unfortunately. I know certain people had the decision. I think I predicted the decision, the way he just went after Holland and choked him out. It shows that despite him being away for a while, 2 years or whatnot, in his conversion therapy, when he's learning not to be a homosexual anymore, on all months of the year, Pride Month, he decides that he put his twerk and his rainbow dildo down. But yeah, for Jordan Levitt, good for him. He got the sub, growing up to be a man. It's like that meme that you see, like when a woman hits a certain age, like I'm bisexual, and then it's like she's 32 and she's like, I want some cock. That's the opposite for Jordan. He put the cock down. So good for him. Alan Nascimento defeats Rafael Filo. It was very close. Ultimately, kind of how I predicted. Maybe not early. I actually predicted that Nascimento would get the takedowns and then control. It was Fiallo that took control of the takedowns, even getting the back and more or less dominating early. But Nascimento, being the bigger guy, better jiu-jitsu guy, maybe better at controlling at top, keeping the top position, he ended up winning that bout. Next bout, very embarrassing. Zach Reese defeats Dusko Todorovic. I'll be honest with you, I picked Reese. I was looking forward to Todorovic early. I actually bet him way more than I should have, because he was, in my eyes, winning round number one. He was still plus 150. I doubled down on him. I thought, well, he's not looking good in round number two, but Reese is looking tired. Let me bet him at like plus 350. Round number three came out. He looked like shit, but later he started busting up the nose of Zach Reese, but it was kind of like a little too late, so I don't get upset that he lost. But between you and me, I thought Dusko did enough to win that fight. Maybe not a robbery, maybe not like, oh my God, I'm going to write my congressman, but I thought he did enough damage. He cut him up, and it is what it is. Like, I can't be upset that my guy fought like the piece of shit that he fought like. It just is what it is. But yeah, moving on, we've got Caitlin de Vieira defeats Macy Chiasson. I picked Chiasson. Finding out about the weight miss, I actually bet Vieira right before at like maybe plus 140 and then again at minus 125 when she actually got the takedown on Macy. Macy looked, I can't blame her. She was scheduled to fight at 135. Then she fought a bigger, thicker Vieira at 145. So it's hard to kind of blame Macy. But the funniest thing is that she raised her hands at the end like she won the fight. Like, get out of here. She lost that fight 30-27. I think one of the judges went split on the rounds. So it was like 29-28. One judge gave her round number 1. The other judge gave her round number 3. I thought that was stupid. But yeah, Caitlin, good for her. Funniest bout of the card, right? I was so like iffy about Bruno and Dustin because like it is either cut and dry one method or cut and dry the other method. Dustin by knockout, or Lopez just is the better fighter, better youthful guy, better jiu-jitsu, better implementation of a game plan. He gets hit with a soft, and Jacoby even said it. It was a very nothing jab. Like, I didn't put much on it. I'm like, yo, I knew Lopez was a guy the UFC should not have brought in. I don't want to call him a bum, but man, this guy is showing bum tendencies. But I did not realize how bad his chin was. I knew he had shit defense, but he ate a tiny little jab and it dropped him, and that was it for him. That was mind-boggling. I would say this was the biggest stunt of the night, even though he was the underdog, but that actually goes to Billy Goff. Billy Goff, huge favorite, minus 390 at one point versus Ramiz Brahima. Now, here's the thing about Ramiz. Props to the man. Deserved that fight, deserved to win, especially coming from like a short notice bout where he was originally supposed to fight Oban Elliott. I think Oban would have fucking destroyed him. And I thought, you know what? I think maybe Oban would destroy him to a decision, but I think Billy Ray's going to destroy him in every other facet. He just needs to be careful and do not present any options for him to go for the neck or any sort of sub. And Billy looked out of sorts early. He got his back taken, but he recovered, and then he was doing really well against the cage, but not throwing enough damage to slow down Ramiz. And then he put his head in between his fucking armpit, and I thought, oh my God, that's it. Luckily, he pulled it out. He didn't get choked. And then in the biggest mistake Billy's Goff's entire career up to this point, he put his fucking head back in there, and then he got choked out with that tight guillotine. So it really bothered me, not because I had money on Billy. I had a $50 parlay with him and some other guys. It is what it is. It's just I like the guy. I like his potential. And for him to be showing that kind of, oh my God, horribly high fight IQ, in the negatives, that is, like minus 1,000 fight IQ, that was rough. I do believe had he not been a moron that night, he would have pounded the body, tired out Ramiz, and just kind of controlled him against the cage if he needed to at the bare minimum. But unfortunately, Ramiz was a lot smarter than that, a lot slicker. And then finally, Gamrot destroys Ludovic Klein. He does exactly as I expected. Unfortunately for me, I did kind of get talked out of the whole, like, taking Gamrot like minus 130. I kind of talked myself out of it. By the time I looked at the live odds, he was already minus 300 with that first takedown, as I expected. I know people were saying like, oh yeah, he's been chinned up before. Doesn't matter. When a guy like Klein, that athletic, has never felt the kind of grappling of a Gamrot, where, as I put it to my girlfriend as we're watching it, I'm like, Gamrot is, God, I can't even say what I said, but he does not take no for an answer. If he says, I'm going to take it, he will take it. He will get what he wants. Let's just say it's two men in a bathhouse, and one guy looks at the other guy. One guy says no, Gamrot says yes, it's going to happen. So yeah, and then the main event, we had the 5-round war between Macy Barber and Blanchfield that ultimately led to a draw. I don't fucking know. Just, if you want my opinion on the whole matter with Macy, it was just, I look at it in the most comedic sense, that it was very fucking hilarious that like DC and Dan Hellie or whatever and Laura Sankor just like what are we gonna do? Like, yeah, Macy apparently had a fucking seizure. Nothing you can do. I can't really blame anybody other than genetics. I don't fucking know what to say, man. It was just an unfortunate event, and it kind of stamps that this might have been probably the worst card in UFC history. Maybe not the worst. We had some good finishes here, but it was pretty fucking bad. But let's move back to the card at hand here. I'm going to go through these relatively quickly. But yeah, let's get started with the first fight of the night. We have got at welterweight Chaos Williams versus Andreas Gustafsson, Bane Gustafsson. Let me look at those odds because I don't see them here. I know this is a short notice bout. We had Giles pulling out on Gustafsson last week. Then he's like, "Yo, I'll fight Chaos Williams," and I'm like, "No, you don't want any of that smoke." Chaos minus 205, come back on Gustafsson plus 170. I'm going Williams here. Very clear for me is that, all right, Williams, massive power. Gustafsson, more of a clinch guy. He's going to have to close the distance on Williams to do any real damage to him. That plays right into Williams' hands. It's going to be really hard for Gustafsson not to take a bomb from Chaos Williams. I do like Gustafsson here. There is a path to victory for him, being that he has to exhaust Williams against the cage. I don't think he can do that to a guy that strong, man. He's the Ox Fighter for a reason. Kalen Chaos Ox Fighter Williams, longest fucking nickname. But I do expect, as I mentioned previously in the last breakdown against Giles, I thought Giles had a good chance, but with his durability issues, it would have been really rough. I do see a world where Gustafsson can get hit once and then put out, not because his chin is bad, because I think his defense is kind of shit, and he has been hurt before. And he kind of relies too much on his toughness, and I think Williams is that kind of guy, and I think he can get him out of there in the first round. With Williams in his last fight, it's the opposite of what he's dealing with here. Williams had Gabriel Bonfim, who was sticking to the outside, going for takedowns, kind of surprising Williams, and just playing the keep away game. Gustafsson, as he self-proclaimed in his Twitter or what was it, Snapchat, that his game plan is going full retard. You can't do that against Chaos Williams. He'll put your lights out. So give me Williams to kind of get a bounce back here. But if he does not finish him, this has the opportunity to be a fucking fire fight burner. Probably potentially fight of the night if these two guys have their durability just at the max and they just kind of collide into a car crash of blood and one's black and one's white. Fun diversity, let's just say. But yeah, this has a very good chance to be a like the last card where it was the Dos Santos versus Ardillion. First fight of the night kind of be a business. So moving on, we've got Markel Mederos versus Mark Choinski. Mark the Shark. Currently Markel minus 250. Comeback on Choinski is plus 205. Now, what we know about Mederos, light on his feet, good footwork, good striker. He's training at the lab now, good cardio. In his last fight, didn't look all that great against Austin Hubbard. And what's funny about Hubbard, I want to actually bring him up for one particular reason, because Markel is in a very interesting spot that I believe Hubbard was in at one point. Now, Markel's original opponent was to be Balaji Oki, and I think Oki, looking back, I think Markel could have made it a lot closer, where it could have been a split. And here's the thing about my interpretation of Mark Choinski. This dude is training out of Rufus Sport. He primarily fought in Anthony Pettis's promotion, like AP Fight Nights, right? AP is better than the other kind of... Anyways, in those regional type of fights, he fought bums, and it almost seemed as if, and I could be wrong, I don't think I'm wrong, but you look at his record, and I'm telling people, just wiki capping this dude was like a big red flag. Yes, he is a 3-time All-American national wrestler. Fine and dandy, right? But his striking's not up to par. And I don't know if he can set up his wrestling against a guy like Mederos, who is the highest level level of opposition he has faced, a guy who has decent takedown defense. And we'll talk about the Hubbard fight, but looking at this guy fighting these regional bums, something struck me odd. There was a fight against him versus a dude named John Simon. I thought Simon was doing well enough to actually win that fight. When the scorecards got read, there were 30-26 on all the scorecards. The 6-26, that is, came from, I believe, an illegal blow while Choinski in the third round was on top, and I believe it was an elbow to the back of the head or of some sort. So they took a point. I think at the very least it should have been 29, 28, 27 Choinski. I really don't think he should have won a 30-26. To me, that tells me that there would have been some fuckery about with the judges and the officiating, because it just seemed very strange to me that maybe they're trying to build this guy up with a boxing type of record. He's undefeated, 8-0, but the opposition has just not been good. I've seen this guy get taken down by that guy, John Simon, who is now like 7-6. He's not necessarily very good. His footwork was very similar to Mederos, but lesser than. He was throwing low kicks, and it was stifling Choinski. And I got to reference something about a regional fight that I actually judged, which kind of reminds me of a possibility between these two. It was a guy desperately going for takedowns, not knowing how to set them up because he was just so flustered by the movement and the striking ability of the opponent that the knees were always there for him to get hit with. And Markel has got a knee knockout to a guy trying to go in for a takedown, and that guy fought him in the Contender Series. What the fuck was that dude's name? It was Isakov. So I think there's a chance that could happen early, or Markel could just kind of dance around him, kick him, stuff the takedowns, get back up if needed. He's not a bad dude off of his back. He can get back up. But the Austin Hubbard comparison, Austin Hubbard at one point fought this guy who was like undefeated. He was a high prospect. I don't know if you guys remember this dude's name, but his name was, if I can find him, Max Roshkampf. At the time, undefeated. He was like fucking, what was his record? 5-0 at the time. And he was looking good and dominant early, and then he broke in there because he just didn't know how to handle a high-level situation like a guy like Austin Hubbard. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think it's going to be Choinski not having the proper experience in high-level fights where he's been in trouble and he hasn't been bailed out. I do think he should have lost that fight against John Simon, and maybe that would have helped him more so than winning that fight by actually getting him to evolve. So I think there's going to be some people on Choinski here. There's a chance he can win if he can get his takedowns, but if he can't, I expect Mederos to dance around him, switch stances, low kick him, blast knees when he's diving in for the legs, and then possibly get a late TKO in the third round. The fight with Mederos and Hubbard, I think Hubbard gets a lot of shit for being kind of like a weaker fighter, but the dude has been evolving. He's a very good vet. And in that fight, which was an elevation, if I recall correctly, where was that fight actually? It was in Mexico City. So yeah, I don't blame Mederos for kind of looking weak, but he bounced back well. I thought he won that fight. Enough about this one, but I do think that this Choinski kid is maybe suffering from his promoter slash teammate giving him weak competition, which I don't think did him any service. So we shall see. Moving on, we've got Quillen Sallkild versus Yanal Ashmouz. Yanal Ashmouz plus 320. Come back on Sallkild is minus 410. I think this could be a lot closer. I'm ultimately going to go with Sallkild by a decision. I think he is more well-rounded. I think Ashmouz, he's a takedown merchant, really. It's funny because like I got lambasted last time for calling him a Jew, but he's not a Jew. He's apparently from like the Caucasus regions, but he lived in Israel. Yeah, that's not going to help him here either. I think Yanal Ashmouz is he's fine. You know, he's athletic, but that athleticism doesn't really do him well if he can't do any damage. That fight with him and Trevor Peek was an atrocity. I know a lot of people thought Peek won, but he didn't do any damage. And with Sallkild being so dangerous off of his back, dangerous on the feet, good takedown defense. He's going to be the longer, taller dude here. Yes, you might say, well, he's already knocked out a longer, taller dude. Ashmouz against Sam Peterson. Is it Peterson? Yeah, Patterson. That's not going to be the same situation here. Sallkild, unfortunately, in his last fight, he knocked out an Indian in no time, which is like, we shouldn't even count it. Let's be real. Let's not even count that fucking fight. So he's coming in here raw. I still think he's got the skill set to beat Yanal Ashmouz, whether by finish later in the fight, if he can land those strong punches, but ultimately him being the more well-rounded of the two, better fight IQ, better output when it comes to damage. Give me Sallkild to win this one by a decision. Next bout, Azamat Murzakonov versus Brendan Ribeiro. I was kind of going back and forth on this one, trying to justify maybe a bet on Ribeiro, who's plus 420. Wow. Azamat minus 590. Ultimately, I did come to the conclusion that Azamat's probably knocking this dude out in the first 2 rounds, right? Azamat, great striker. He is going to be shorter. He is going to have the shorter reach. Nothing he's not used to. He's fought a lot of tall dudes with better reach, more explosive guys. Brendan has definitely warranted a shot, though. Like, if you want to take a shot on Brendan, just money line. I think he's worth it. I think he has evolved enough. He's got a very long one, too. He's got super long arms, but in the pocket, he is not good. Because of his length, he overextends so much that if Murzakonov can just kind of slip and rip, I think he can hit him with an uppercut. I think he can take him down. I've seen Ribeiro get knocked out with ground and pound in the past. He doesn't have the best takedown defense. I think the odds are heavily juiced for Murzakonov, but he is an aging light heavyweight. I think there's a chance Brendan can get him early. His submission game is getting better. Will he submit Murzakonov? It's very unlikely. Thus, if you're going to bet him, just go money line. Don't get too fucking greedy with him. But odds are the path to victory for him will have to be a finish. So maybe if you want to get a little greedy, it is what it is. But give me Murzakonov in the first 2 rounds. I think that if this gets extended into the third, and Murzakonov, who has gotten tired in the past, especially with bigger dudes, there's a chance that Ribeiro there could maybe find that kill shot. But give me Murzakonov in the first 2 rounds. Next bout, we've got a newcomer, Ju Sang-yu versus Jeka Saragih. Minus 500 for Ju Sang-yu. I don't love the odds, but I think they are slightly warranted based on him being the better, more well-rounded guy versus Jeka. Plus 360. Jeka has the absolute death touch. Ju, I like Ju's defensive footwork and his head movement, but it does still leave enough for me to desire a little bit better. I watched some of his fights, and the guy is very well-rounded. He's coming out of not particularly like the Korean Zombies camp. I'm not too sure. I know he is associated with them because he's fought in like ZFC, which is like Z Fight Nights or whatever, which is a Korean Zombies promotion. So I know they're connected, and the guy does fight very well polished for an 8-0 guy. The guy can wrestle, the guy can grapple, the guy's got very good striking. He's got a good fight IQ. He will mix in takedowns when needed. Jeka's takedown defense isn't the best. His ground game isn't great, but the guy he has something in him that he can make this fight way more competitive and compelling for me, is that he doesn't refuse any positions, right? Like, he will fight out of whatever he needs to fight out of. Even if he gets taken down, he will try to work his way back up. It's all just raw power from him. But man, just going back and watching some of his knockouts, just the way he lands, he's not the cleaner striker. He doesn't need to be, knowing with that kind of power, he can put anybody out. But when it comes down to the fight IQ, it is Ju that's going to win this one. I think the side should be with the Ju here. Ju Sang-yu. I think Ju Sang-yu, I mean, not only, like, at this point, I'm starting to think, like, him being undefeated, like, he's going to control the fight. He's going to control the fight very much so like he controls the media. So give me Ju Sang-yu to win this fight by controlling the fight, taking him down, and working his ground and pound, maybe finding a submission. But it's going to have to be in the later rounds. Early in the fight, Jeka Saragih is going to be too powerful. He's going to be throwing too much heat. And the thing is, will Ju get the jitters? It's funny. Will Ju get the jitters and try to, like, whiff for a bad takedown and then get caught? this is a stay away moment, but I do have to pick Jew just primarily because he is the better, and um, I won't get my check if I don't. So yeah, give me Jew by decision, or see, Jew should get a finish, but actually give me Jew by decision. I do want to see what improvements Jekka has made, because I do think this is a fight kind of like a dog or pass. Dog or pass money wise, pick wise, Jew should win it. Jekka is going to be too reliant on trying to find that knockout, but damn, he's very good at finding it. Next bout, we've got, for me, quite possibly the most compelling fight of the card. We've got at heavyweight Sergey Spivak minus 130 versus Waldo Acosta Cortes, or Cortes Acosta plus 110. So it's very easy for me to say that Spivak, if he gets a takedown, he's probably going to do enough damage and find a submission. So I'm leaning Spivak sub. The thing is, with Acosta, I had to go back and kind of rewatch him. Like, he doesn't have the worst takedown defense. He's very athletic. And if he can land a good shot on Spivak, man, it'd be incredibly fun. Like, his finishing instincts, like, he just goes buck wild throwing that fastball. So I am kind of torn between this one, because it's not a very cut and dry Spivak wins if he gets a takedown. I think it's going to be rough for Spivak to get a takedown. He's going to have to walk through fire early to try to get Acosta down. It's just he needs to find the right time. So it's all dependent on Spivak being patient and not getting, lack of a better word, pussified by the power of Acosta. Acosta, he's not going to want to get taken down. That is the thing. And I've seen the game plan to beat Spivak, which would have been the Cyril Gahn method. You know, you just walk him forward, just stay safe, a little on the outside, pop the jab, land some power shots, make Spivak make the mistake, and then try not to get taken down. And within that time frame, if Waldo can make Spivak uncomfortable, I think he can frame him perfectly to get him with a nice, right hand. But if he doesn't and he gets taken down, that is Spivak's world, right? Like, he has beaten better grapplers than Acosta, better heavyweights than Acosta. So I'm very torn by this one. For damn sure, I don't foresee this one going the distance. But I gotta go with my gut with Spivak. I've picked against Acosta for a reason. I don't think he is that great. When he gets overzealous, he gets very fucking sloppy. And on top of that, he doesn't check low kicks. And on top of that, I've seen him get taken down and controlled by a guy like, what's his name? Lima? What's his first name? Marcos Rogerio Lima. Uh, but then on the other side, like, I've seen Spivak get dropped and hurt by a grappler in fucking God King Jailton Almeida. So it's very, very perfect timing for either guy, right? They're both right there where they're like kind of mid-level heavyweights. They're not low-level heavyweights. I think Spivak was a low-level heavyweight at one point, and then he kind of jumped out of that. Costa was fighting nothing but low-level heavyweights, thus he was kind of middling there, so I think he's kind of jumped up there after that Span finish. So I'm very intrigued by this fight, probably the most intriguing fight of the night. I'm going to pay attention to it, but I'm going to stick with Spivak by sub. I think it's just his world. That's all he has to do. He has taken down a majority of his opponents. If you look back, he did take down Jailton Almeida with a headlock. Very unconventional. I don't think Acosta's going to be able to kind of deal with that. He did, he didn't take down Marcin Tybura, but he kind of got reversed by him. Then he got the sub off of his back. Cyril Gahn couldn't. Took down Lewis, took down Sakai. I think he can take down Acosta and sub him within the first 2 rounds. But man, I'm very excited for this one. I am kind of rooting for Acosta Cortes here. Cortes Acosta, whatever. Let me know what you think about this one in particular, because I am just kind of flipping back and forth. I can just see so many possibilities. It's just that, will Spivak kind of bitch out is what I'm worried about. So if he does not bitch out, I think he can get that sub early. Next bout, we've got Ariane Lipski plus 275. Come back on Kong Wang minus 350. I'm going Wang by a decision here. I think she is the better striker. I think she's more comfortable on the feet. I think, like everything I've said about her in the past, she made a huge mistake against Fernandez. Her big mistake there was kind of getting too cocky and trying to get back her getting rocked. She got rocked, made a mistake, rushed in, got hit again, got taken down, got dropped, got her back taken. Lipski is dangerous. I've seen Lipski get finished by lesser people. I've seen Lipski kind of look like shit. She is very fast, but with a fighter the caliber of Kong Wang on the feet, with her takedown defense improving, her submission game improving, I would not be surprised if we see Kong Wang go for a takedown here. So give me Wang by a decision. I think this being the most difficult matchup for her in her career, I think she's going to be a little bit more safe. And here's the thing, though. Between her and Bruna Brazil sucks, okay? I've been saying that for years. She is just like, she breaks mentally. Lipski doesn't really break mentally. She will continue to fight. But if you hit her just right, she will act like a fucking pretty girl who just got her nose job. You know what I'm saying? Like, daddy just paid $3,000 for my nose. Oh my God. So I think if Kong can hit her just right, she will go down. Um, but I don't think Kong's going to be throwing that kind of heat here. I don't think she's going to go back to her being cocky. If she does do so, that's where Lipski can capitalize. I just don't see it happening. I think Kong, unfortunately, is overpriced at this point because, again, like, she did pull that massive stunt against Fernandez where she was essentially dominating. She looked minus 10 grand, 10,000 at that point, up until she got overzealous. So give me Wang by a decision. Next bout, we've got Bruno Silva versus Joshua Van. Man, I hate the odds here. Joshua Van minus 530. He's probably going to win this one by a decision. The thing is with Bruno Silva, the plus 390, Bruno is a very good fighter. The dude can wrestle, he can grapple, he can box, he can do it all. The thing is with Bruno is that he is older, he's going to be slower. Joshua Van is at that point where he's 23 years old, and this motherfucker is probably near complete as possible. His takedown defense is incredible. His output is ridiculous. His boxing is like elite for the division. And on top of that, he's got unlimited cardio, and he gets better as the rounds go. So with Joshua Van, he already faced like a tough, stiff test in Charles Johnson, and he was looking good. He didn't pass that test, and he kind of got caught at that point. But I think he's looked better as he's progressed. Like, he came back and he fought Chairez on short notice, had a war with him, showed his takedown defense and his takedown ability. He just beat the shit out of Cody Durden. And just not too long ago, his takedown defense and get-up game against Ray Saruya was just the icing on the cake. I keep saying, like, him training with, and I always forget his coach's name, Daniel Pineda, is just kind of like the match made in heaven. Like, because Daniel Pineda is a guy that is very similar to Bruno Silva, right? Very similar with the submission threats, with the power. And this dude is just boxing with him every day. I think it's just going to be one of those Joshua Van fights where it's like, he can't get the finish, not due to lack of absolutely trying. So give me Joshua by a decision. There's a chance he could lay so much damage on Bruno that they have to stop it, but Bruno is a tough dude. He's not going to quit on himself. He's going to come after him. So it could be very interesting where it is Joshua Van minus like 5,000 going into round number 3, and then again he might get caught. Don't see that happening, though. Give me Joshua Van by a decision, but at this point, overpriced, not worth even putting on a parlay. Next bout, we've got the main card opener. We've got the return of everyone's favorite, Mario Bautista, plus 135. Patchy Mix, the former Bellator champion, minus 170. If you don't know about No Love Patchy Mix, just to kind of fill you in, the guy, my honest opinion on him is that he's got great grappling, good wrestling. He's a backpack extraordinaire. Better backpack than Aljo is. He's so lanky, he's tall. He's dangerous in every facet because he can land up knee. He did that to Raufeon Stotts. So the dude is dangerous, but he's mostly dangerous with his submission game, his chokes. Bautista, on the other hand, I think he's the better striker. So what we know about these two is that, they're both wrestlers. They're both solid guys. I think Patchy's overall resume is better. He is the taller dude. He's going to have the reach advantage by about 2.5 inches. I cannot rightfully say he's going to have the wrestling advantage. I think for sure Patchy is the more credentialed wrestler, more credentialed grappler. I know Bautista is also a black belt, but Bautista is on some sort of special juice right now. He's on that special sauce. So he's a thick, strong boy, and his wrestling's gotten better. And I do fully expect them to kind of negate themselves. I think this could be a much more difficult fight for both men where it is very dead even. What I do like about Patchy is that he does have incredible threats that if Mario does try to go for a takedown, like he was rushing in against Aldo with his head in, fucking going full Billy Ray. And if you give Patchy your neck, he will snatch it up. And even if it's not in, it's a threat. It's a thing you have to acknowledge that even if you're not feeling it as tight as it could be, you might give up your back, like turn to your back. So with Mario, it's a fascinating bout. And what I find fascinating about the Mario Bautista fight against him and Jose Aldo, where people are like, he's a pussy, this and that. Let me take off this notification to update. Does he deserve it? Yes. There's one thing in that fight that like still pisses me off to this day is that I don't think he won that third round. I think it was laziness from the three people that judge the fights. Let's just say, I don't want a soundbite. It was just laziness because realistically, it was a boring fucking third round. I think I don't think I know that Aldo did all the damage. Bautista just held him there. And what pissed me off about that fight, which is why I don't like Bautista at this point, just along with everybody else, like I do agree he had to do what he had to do. Fucking Merab does the same thing, and everyone praises Merab for it. And I'll talk about Merab in a bit and what his antics do, and I think they get overjudged. But the fact that when it was not Big John, Mike Beltran split them up after fucking minutes of him doing nothing, just holding Aldo against the cage, he gets separated and instantly dives for the legs again. That to me should have like been an indicator that this guy doesn't want anything to do with him on the feet. Every punch has been hurting him. But again, judges viewed it, probably checked their phones, looked up, oh, he's holding him. He's holding him. Even despite the fact that he ate up like half of the round, I still think that Aldo won based off of actually landing damage. Rant over. In this fight, though, if Patchy can't get the takedowns, I think Bautista is the more well-rounded striker, but I actually do see Patchy being the more credentialed wrestler. I have seen Bautista get taken down by, I don't want to say lesser competition in Blackshear, but at the time, Blackshear was not the high caliber guy he is now, as well-rounded as he is. And Patchy has taken down and tapped out much better wrestlers and much better strikers. And I do think that the moment that Patchy does put Bautista in trouble is going to be kind of the end of that round, meaning that if Patchy takes the back, he will get the backpack. If he tries to jump for a guillotine, I think it can be tight. He might not get it, but at that point, Bautista will give up position where Patchy will capitalize. But if it becomes one of those striking battles between two guys who cannot take each other down, it could be very, very close. I will still go with Patchy mix by a decision. But I'm not going to be one of these guys to tell you that Patchy is the end-all, be-all. Do I think he is a high-level bantamweight? Yes, I do. But the UFC is a different beast, right? There are guys that are more capable of nullifying your style, meaning that if Bautista can get on top, I think he can eat up a little bit of time. There's just higher fight IQs, higher degrees of camp and training and shit. Not to say Bellator didn't have that. I'm just saying this is a higher level, and I'm not going to be sucking Patchy's dick. That's someone else's job. But yeah, give me mixed by a decision here, but I'm not on the all aboard Patchy mixed train yet. In Bellator, this dude was running through everybody, other than Juan Ochaleta. But in the UFC, I think he might face a bit stiffer competition where they're not going to be as easy as they once were. Like, I don't want to bring up the second Magomedov fight. He choked him out in the first fight, but in the second fight, he kind of got figured out a little bit, and that's what worries me. Figuring out a guy like Patchy Mix, where if you can avoid certain situations, you might be able to nullify him enough. I don't want to get too deep into it because, again, they are very well matched. We'll just have to wait and see. But I am counting on Patchy to actually get those takedowns and that control time. Next bout, we've got Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland. Holland is minus 220, come back on Luque plus 180. And this one's fascinating because I know a lot of people like to shit on Kevin Holland, but at 170, I think he's legit. I just don't know how legit. Luque, on the other hand, this guy was a big underdog again against Themba Gorimbo. And realistically, like, depending on how you want to view history, Themba just beat Ramiz Brahima. Ramiz Brahima just beat Billy Goff. Billy Goff was a huge favorite. Thus, maybe Themba Gorimbo beating Ramiz is a bigger deal. Maybe Ramiz is better. Thus, maybe Themba's a really good win on Vicente Luque, but the fact that Luque made it look really easy, clipped him, he went for the choke, whatever. Against Kevin Holland, though, this one's fascinating because Kevin has the power. Kevin has the jiu-jitsu. He has been subbed himself. It's just he's super unreliable. It's one of those, like, you can't bet on Kevin Holland as a favorite. You can only bet him as a dog, and if you do so, you will get rewarded like a fight against Gunnar Nelson where he fucked him up. He looked great in that fight. I think welterweight is where he deserves to be. It's just there's a possibility here that Kevin can just revert back to his I don't give a fuck anymore attitude. And Luque, yes, brain bleed. Yes, he's been through a lot. But he's still Luque, though. Like, he can still catch you. He can still knock you out. He can still anaconda you. But I still have to go with the overall improvements of Kevin Holland, the reach, the size. It's not to say that Luque hasn't beaten guys like that. He's beaten tall, lanky black dudes like Jalen Turner, knocked him out. Kevin is a different beast, though. I think he does hit way harder than most of the guys Luque's been hit with. Even Jeff Neal, recently I heard him say that Holland was the hardest guy to ever hit him, and I believe Holland is it the only dude to knock him out? Yeah, I believe back in the regionals he knocked him out. So give me Holland by like maybe first or second round knockout. If I would play it, I would probably play Luque just money line and or Kevin Holland knockout or inside the distance, because like parlaying Kevin, like I don't feel comfortable there. The dude is just he's too good in general. His abilities are too good to be overlooked. And especially at welterweight, it just is tremendously better. And you look at his losses, man, like Roman Dolidze, what are his losses at welterweight? I think that he is suffering from just kind of like being memory hold a bit, right? Like you look at his losses at welterweight. He lost to Stephen Thompson. You can make the argument that yeah, he broke his hand, he whatever. He kind of fought like a stupid idiot, and then he defeats Ponzinibbio, beats Chiesa. Then you look at who he lost to after that. Lost to the champion in Jack Della, and I love saying that. Lost to the champion, Jack Della Maddalena, and then he lost to a title contender, a guy who gave a guy that might be fighting for the title in Ian Gary Fitz, and that's Michael Page. So it's not like we should just be throwing this fucker out with the bathwater, right? It's just let's give him a chance at welterweight. But it's one of those, like, we've given him so many chances. So I kind of am in like a teeter-totter mode with Kevin Holland. I'm still going to pick him to win, probably second round knockout, but we shall see. It's either Kevin Holland's the biggest fucking fraud ever, or Vicente Luque is he's just not he's not done yet. So like I'm a big fan of Luque. Like I love Vicente Luque, and it pains me to pick against him because I'm very aware of how dangerous he is. But it's not good for his health to be walking into punches that long from Kevin Holland. That long right hand is a fucking menace. Next bout, we've got Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. Pyfer minus 395. Come back on Gastelum plus 310. Originally supposed to fight in Mexico City. Joe Pyfer said some shit about diarrhea. Got nasty diarrhea. Couldn't make it to the fight. People gave him shit for that. I don't blame him for that. I think he was rightfully pissed. Because let me tell you a story about when I went to Mexico, man. I went to Mexico. I just, my mother at the time just bought me a new pair of K-Swiss, all white. And we were going down to Mexico City. And yes, elevation's a bitch there, but you get used to it. Doesn't take too long. And I had purchased a bag of watermelon. They sell you free fruit, right? Like a bag of fruit. Mostly watermelon is what I ate. I'm eating this watermelon. And then as I'm walking around Mexico City, I don't feel so good. I fucking throw up all the watermelon and I destroy these white new K Swiss. I was pissed. So it's something you do kind of have to be weary of. So for Pyfer to get sick in Mexico is a very funny thing, and him saying I took all the precautions. So I don't know what happened with him getting bad food, but yeah, you cannot trust the fucking food down there. Kelvin, on the other hand, can't trust him at all at middleweight. He's going to be the shorter guy, smaller guy. We've talked about this before. I picked Pyfer to win. I'm actually picking him to win again by submission. I think he can finish him with punches because he hits that hard. It's just that his striking's not polished enough. I don't think he sets up his power punches well enough. I think he just wings them, and maybe that's enough. But his grappling is legit. We've been through this. If Joe Pyfer, who trains with Sean Brady, can just kind of learn, like, hey, Kelvin's kind of weak in certain spots. Maybe take him down. Maybe put him in an arm triangle. The arm triangle is kind of what I'm going with. Give me shitty pants Joe Pyfer. That's what we call him. Give me Joe Pyfer here, who shits his pants, to beat Kelvin Gastelum. Give him a reverse Montezuma's revenge. Let's go with that. Joe Pyfer, reverse Montezuma. Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison, co-main event bantamweight championship. Damn, the odds suck. We've got minus 625 for Kayla Harrison. The hot mama Kayla Harrison pisses me off that she's so jacked. Like, come on now. 34 years old, American top team, yada yada. This fight, I don't want to break it down too heavily because, I could go and give you all the little nuances about what either fighter can do. But the plus 455 on Pena is just so tempting. Like, there's so many tempting lines. I think the odds makers are not comprehending that maybe Kayla Harrison at bantamweight isn't the same as Kayla Harrison at 145. Like, she cuts a shit ton of weight. Used to be a 155er. And it's just ridiculous, right? It's really ridiculous. Like, Kayla, these odds indicate that she's at Khabib levels where she's going to just take down Pena and destroy her. And she very well could. I just do not see that happening. I think Pena is, in the best way possible, because I'm starting to really like Juliana Pena. Her shit talk is very underrated. Her hype packages for the fights are entertaining. But she's a two-time UFC champion. Former tough champion as well. This girl, if I remember correctly, would get in fights with guys at bars and like beat the shit out of them. And I actually believe it. Just given the way she composes herself, I kind of believe it. Striking shit, wrestling's iffy. She has been subbed before, but she is, in the best way possible, the fucking cockroach champion of the bantamweight division. Like, you cannot get rid of her, right? Fucking Nunes found that out. Like, she was beating her ass, and then she got tired of beating Pena's ass, and the cockroach perseveres, ends up put one of two hilarious narratives. Either in that choke where she tapped out Amanda Nunes, the greatest champion of all time in the women's division, either Pena's choke with no hooks in, not locked in all the way, is so tight that there was just the impending signs of death were creeping up on Amanda Nunes as she absolutely had to tap, or Amanda Nunes fucking quit. You choose. But I choose the latter on that one. But I think Pena is just so hard. She is so stubborn. And that is what is so intriguing about her. In her fighting style, she can look like absolute shit. And not the type of shit that Dricus du Plessis looks like. His shit looks good. Like, it's like that, what's it called? Space Jam, where Michael Jordan's fucking playing baseball, and they're like, man, when you strike out, man, it looks good, man. But when I strike out, it looks like shit, man. This is Pena looking like shit striking out. Like, when Dricus does it, it looks great. So with Harrison cutting so much weight, Pena's already been saying it, and it's true. Like, what, you're going to run right through me? I don't fucking see that happening. What I do expect to happen is, if Kayla's kidneys are not failing on her come round number 4 or 5, I think she can edge out at least 3 rounds in the type of visual judging that can only be done in the UFC to give a champion that the UFC wants the title. I don't think it's going to be a dominant performance from Kayla Harrison, but with her strength, and if she can manage her cardio and strength correctly, either she will get a finish by submission or by TKO, or if it does get pushed out where it's a back and forth kind of fight where it's like two girls beating the shit out of each other, maybe not the prettiest, similar to Pena versus, God forbid it ever happen again, Roxanne Pennington, which she should have never been champion. I can still see, even if Pena wins visually on damage, on control time with takedowns, a visibly fatigued Kayla Harrison, I think there's going to be enough bullshit to say that Kayla won 3 of the 5 rounds. Not by us, but by the judges. So give me Kayla to win this one by a decision. I think it's going to go over. I think it can be a very sloppy fight, but maybe an entertaining slop fest. But we shall see. Ultimately, though, I do like Pena here. I think at these odds, it's worth a stab. But ultimately, I think the way things are going with the UFC and the fast track, they want the Kayla Harrison kind of hype train, because at that point, they can just feed her lower level competition at 135. And I think it's going to be competition she can run right through, and thus they have a new. It's going to be truly, they're setting up Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. That's what they want to do. So, no, just leave it at that. And then main event here, we've got the rematch, Merab Dvalishvili, Sean O'Malley 2. Now, minus 325 for Merab, come back on Sean plus 260. The way I'm looking at it is, man, there's so much into this, right? Sean has been saying like, oh, or was it his coach, Tim Welsh, is like, yeah, the sphere kind of threw him off with the sound and the lights. And, you can joke about that, but shit like that can affect the fighter. And to me, it did look like something was off with Sean. And you could attribute that to maybe he's telling the truth about the lights, or it could have just been Merab being Merab. Merab is just such a fucking little weasel. And in a good way, it's just, his style is just such a mystery, because you know what he wants to do. He doesn't change anything. He's not going to come out here and look like Mayweather with a crispy jab. He's going to be winging stuff and ducking under for your nuts. And it's so dangerous. It is just so dangerous, because like when you think about it in the psychological manner, Sean knows that if he gets taken down, he's probably lost that round. And it's going to take him effort to get back up. That effort's going to lead to more fatigue. So it's that I cannot get taken down type of mentality. Thus, you kind of forget what he's doing, and he's outpointing you by doing fuck all. Just dancing around, fucking throwing punches that aren't landing. And if I'm being honest, man, like Merab, I don't dislike Merab. I kind of like watching his fights, but if we break it down legitimately, he doesn't do much. He just grabs you, he holds you, he sometimes throws ground and pound. And nothing more evident than in the fight with him and Umar. Now, it was a close fight. Umar was up 2 rounds to none. And then the thing that makes Merab so dangerous at a championship level is that if you don't finish him early, he's got 3 rounds to then put the pace on you because you fatigued. And going into those later rounds, I thought it was Umar's fight up until I think he stuffed the takedown. Merab didn't really do anything other than gesture and like fucking like, what do you call that shit? Like he taunted him. It's like, and to me, that's what really won him the fight. It was the posturing, the lack of visible fatigue in his eyes compared to Umar. Even though Umar, I thought, landed the cleaner strikes, nothing like, oh my god, it was a robbery. But Merab doesn't do much. Like he does enough in the sense of like movement, so you can't track him, and that's what really gave Sean a lot of trouble in that first fight. Like I don't think Sean looked terrible when he actually was fighting. I think he kind of got broken in there, where the original fight was a near pick'em, right? I think Sean was like maybe minus 120, and then it kind of flipped around, plus money on Merab. Looking at it, it's justified for Merab to be this price tag, the minus 325. It's just, I'm curious as to what Sean can do. We've seen Sean hurt him to the body. Sean didn't do much in that fight, which leads me to think, what are the changes going to be here? I know he's been talking about he gave up like boozing and going out and just kind of been like focus on training. I don't know if that's going to be enough though. With Merab's like, I don't care what you do kind of style. Like it's just such a difficult thing to overcome. Now I do give Sean a chance here to actually finish Merab. Merab's not invincible. There were moments in that first fight, even in the first round, that if Sean was a little less tentative and he framed his shots better, he had a very good clean 1-2 that completely missed, but it was damn close to hurting and killing Merab. I mean, it was very close. And I think he just got very discouraged. So I'm curious to see how closer this fight can be. I think the money surrounding Sean, the plus 260, is fascinating to me. Those odds are like maybe a bit of an overcorrection, depending on the judging. I think Sean was doing the most damage, more or less. It's just that the control time of Merab tends to get just overblown at times, where it's like he's just holding him against the cage, not doing much. He's winning visibly to the judges, when in reality, like he's covered in blood and his nose is leaking, and Sean's kind of landing the stiffer shots. So if Sean can have a higher output here and maybe be less tentative to throw that teep kick up the middle, he was definitely avoiding that. I'm curious to see how this fight can play out. Maybe a shot on Sean isn't the worst thing in the world, because I think he is elite. I think he has great footwork. I think he is one of the few guys that can give Merab troubles. Like going back, the whole narrative was, Merab striking is fucking trash, but it doesn't need to be good when his number one motive is to grab a hold of you and take you down. Sean was taken down pretty easily at points, but then surprisingly in the later portions of that fight, which was a complete fucking dud, by the way, I hated it. We all left early, paid so much money for. I'm still paying off those fucking tickets to to Noche at the Sphere, and it pisses me off thinking about it. But he was stuffing takedowns, he was kicking the leg out, and it was actually Merab that was a little bit more tentative. So I'm curious to see what happens, but man, it's so hard, and it's unfortunate that I think the judging here is what's giving me the overall feeling and desire to actually go with Merab by decision again. The feeling being that I think the judges love Merab. They love what he does. It makes it easier for them to judge when, say, the striking is clearly on the side of Sean, but if a guy is holding another guy against a cage or holding him down and doing nothing, visually it's so much easier to give the round to that guy instead of having to, I don't know, do your fucking job. So give me Merab, unfortunately, to win this one again by a very, very close decision, very similar to the last fight. Two of the judges gave 2 rounds to Sean. I think if Sean can make adjustments, he can definitely edge this fight, maybe get a finish or take it. But unfortunately, I think, again, with the judging the way it is, I think Merab's style is going to give Sean the same kind of troubles where he's going to be moving way too much. He's not going to get tired. And then when he does shoot, even though he might have already lost the striking exchanges, it's going to be more visibly and more palatable for the judges to say, well, the guy held him down. What's not my, what do you want me to do? I'm not fighting in there. Fucking 50-46, 50-48. No, wait, wrong way. 50-44, Merab Dvalishvili via control time. So let's see what happens here. I'm rooting for Sean, but I think Merab is going to be the victor again. I just think that the odds are kind of overblown here. I understand why they are the way they are. It feels grimy to me that it went from a pick'em in a fight that, yeah, it wasn't the best showing from Sean, but I think if Sean can make those adjustments, I definitely think it should be maybe like minus 180 for Merab. But here we are, minus 325. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in regards to this card itself. I think it has to deliver because, just to kind of rant real quick, ESPN Plus and UFC Fight Pass are pissing me the fuck off. I was trying to do tape watch on this. ESPN Plus, all the UFC fights were taken off. You go to the fucking Fight Pass, and a fight that happened Shit, I was trying to watch the Jubilee fight versus Jekka Saragih. They don't have that, but they have some random ass shit from like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, make up your fucking mind what you want to do, because usually it was like the older fights that would be primarily on Fight Pass. I don't know what's going on with ESPN, but it absolutely sucks. Anyways, enough about that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Johnny TigerBomb, and I will catch you at the next one.